How's it going, guys? So today in the PhantomCave YouTube channel, we're going to be talking about a latest comic review by yours truly. PhantomCave is here with comic reviews by PhantomCave. So today on the review list, we're going to be talking about the Attilan Mystery. So back in 1993, we had a story that was quite new back in those days. It's a good old-fashioned Sly Barry, or Seymour Barry as I like to call him, and Lee Falk story. And what this has to do with what we're trying to do today is that I've actually got that comic, and is actually, I think, probably a couple issues before this comic actually comes out, and this was back in 1993. You've got the movie coming out in like 3 years. You've got awesome productions coming out of Jim Shepard's publication team, and you've got a whole lot more. Now, this being one of the many covers and many stories and art that you actually have to look at, is that Seymour Barry only lasted a couple more years in the comic book industry, and they've I actually read this part. It's pretty cool. So the Falk and Barry connection is one of the best connections in the world. At that time, it was pre-standing of what they were coming up out of the dailies and the Sundays. So that's pretty cool. And one of the major focuses that daily artists and story writers have today, and they've always had them in the past, is that learning, that conception to either be far apart between each other or being close mates or something. And yeah, there's a lot of mateship that goes into daily and Sunday telegraphs and Sunday stories. So let's move on with the comic. It also has a little bit in with other retrospective covers that were back in Italy or back in Portugal or something like that. And this story actually starts off with, obviously, Diana. We have a sort of dictator king who's trying to get into the UN, which is the United Nations. The Phantom is involved in this because he's talking to the Diana, and he's saying they're trying to work out what is like this new country that's trying to get into the UN, the United Nations as a whole. And most of the jungle folk, the young people from jungle tribes, are going to this oil plantation where a lot of them in the early parts of this story thought they were getting a lot of good money. They thought they were getting 300 when they arrived, and 1,000 in bonus, which we find out in this next part of these stories. And how Diana gets involved in this is because the dictator will, and plus the country is it doesn't actually let any air force, doesn't let any planes through its space of the diameter of their country, doesn't allow that, and it doesn't allow any newcomers to come into their country, see what all their country is about. And plus, it being Attilan, which obviously this is because it's called Attilan Mystery. That being that it's an Attilan story, it's being that the whole country is under basically a big globe of glass, and is basically, what would you call it, is basically air conditions. That's the word I'm looking for. And so the Phantom then has to go in there. He has to find out what's happening in this country, why these jungle folk and native, like probably Americans, who are coming to work here but cannot send any notes or anything of that matter to their loved ones and to their tribes. So the Phantom breaks it all up, I guess, and he again wins in this mystery, and he has to save Diana from being sort of chopped off. Her head's been chopped off in the later part of the story, but the country is also wanting to become a democracy, and can't do that because of the dictator king. And so let's sum this up. So we have the Phantom is obviously hearing things. He's thinking, he visits the jungle tribes. He knows that there's something fishy going on here. And then Diana gets involved. A lot of other people get involved. Phantom actually rescues all parts of it. Phantom rescues Diana, and then the king, the dictator king, actually has to create a democracy and basically create an election as a whole. Now, we all know a big election is in one of the giant countries at the time, and I'm not going to be any political. So this story can and cannot be. It can and cannot be. It's a good one in retrospective, but if you're looking at it today, well, I'm not too sure what I'm actually trying to say here, but it's a good story. The Phantom obviously rescues everyone, and the tribesmen go back to their tribes. They're obviously trying to look for new sort of ways to make money, I guess. And because this is a 52-page story, we have also the Phantom trying to get a democracy in the last probably couple panels. And he obviously disappears and self-exile. And the funny thing is, with tribes, you don't want to get involved in those. You don't want to get hard labor for like 10 years. So that's what the king does get from the tribe people. He gets 10 years of hard labor, and we're into the ads. So back in those days, we had the 1991 annual, as we all know it, is one of, well, I actually have both of these books, is, well, you can get this sort of, these two comics, I'm pretty sure you can get them at phantomcomic.com.au, but you can also get them a lot cheaper with other collectors if they're willing to sell them. Now, one thing I did realize in the last couple of years is these two books are basically the first annual and the second annual of the Phantom, basically. And back in those days, you would have been able to get them for $13 or $10. Those are the times when you actually had some. Yeah, those are the times when you actually got cheap comics. That could be controversial, never know. But I guess you still get cheap comics, even though sometimes they may be overpriced at a comic shop. So we also have the old attention, all Phantom fans, the good old Phantom official Australian club, and we also have the Phantom Forum. We've got a magnificent cover by who knows, and it obviously, back in those days, on the covers, we actually saw like some of the actual images that they used in the artwork for the story is actually brought to life on the cover, basically. And if you would like to subscribe to the PhantomCave YouTube channel, go down below, click that subscriber button down below, and you will receive the best, the most insightful content on the globe. So hit that subscriber button down below, and we'll see you next time on the PhantomCave YouTube channel. And keep on PhantomCaving. We'll see you